welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into a story most of us heard as kids, The Three Little Pigs. But we're going way deeper than the usual build a strong house moral.
Yeah, you think you know it, but this one's got layers.
Oh, it does, it does.
Yeah.
And for this deep dive, we're using L. Leslie Brooks' version. It's early 1900s, got these beautiful illustrations, but it doesn't shy away from some of the darker stuff.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for, right?
Absolutely. I mean, this version's the one where the wolf actually eats the pig's father before the story even starts.
Right. That's not in, the Disney version or anything. So, right off the bat, we got to ask, does this change how we see those pigs? Are they just innocent little guys building houses? Or is there, a revenge plot brewing?
It definitely adds a layer of complexity, right? Like, what's driving them? Is it just about finding their fortune? Or is there this underlying trauma, this need to confront the wolf, not just as a danger, but as the thing that took their dad?
Whoa, okay, that's heavy. And then there's the mother pig, right? The story starts with her basically saying, kids, gotta go, can't feed you.
It's harsh, right? Sends them out to seek their fortune. Doesn't really explain why.
So we've got these pigs already dealing with loss, heading out into this world where there's this wolf who ate their dad.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he represents danger to everyone, but to them, it's personal.
Definitely. And the way he's portrayed in this version, he's not just blowing down houses, he's eating those first two pigs. Straw house, stick house, gone.
It's brutal. And it makes you wonder, did they, subconsciously put themselves in his path? Maybe they were seeking him out as much as he was hunting them.
That's an interesting thought. Were their choices driven by something deeper than just, oh, let's build a house?
Right. And then we get to the third pig, Mr. Brickhouse. He's always seen as the smart one, the hard worker. But knowing about their dad, about the wolf's history, doesn't it make his actions a bit different?
Totally. It's not just about being prepared. It's like he's anticipating that confrontation. He knows what the wolf's capable of.
He builds that brick house like a fortress. And then he lays all those traps, outsmarts the wolf at every turn, and then boils him alive in the pot.
Yikes, right. Is that self-defense? Or is there some twisted payback going on there? I mean, the story doesn't give us a clear answer.
It's dark, and here's another thing that always bugged me. What about the mom? We never hear from her again after she sends them off.
It's kind of creepy, right? Did the wolf get her too? Did the surviving pig ever even try to find her?
The story just ends. Happy ending for the one pig, but his whole family's gone.
Yeah.
And we don't know what happened to mom. That doesn't sit right with me.
No, it doesn't paint a complete picture, does it? And it makes you think about that happy ending for the third pig. Is it really happy? He's alone, maybe haunted by what he did.
We've gone from a simple story about houses to, family trauma, revenge,
Yeah.
and the question of whether these pigs were really the good guys.
Yeah, it's like the story's asking us, is the wolf really the only bad guy here? Or are things a little more complicated than that? And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? That whole thing about hard work equals success. Does it still hold up here with all this other stuff going on?
Yeah, it's more than just building a good house, right?
Yeah.
It's what choices are you making when you're facing something that's not just dangerous, but tied to your past like that? Was the third pig so careful, so driven because of fear, trauma?
Or revenge even. I mean, let's not forget, he was pretty tricky himself, luring the wolf with those turnips, the apples.
He was playing the wolf's game, and he won. It's almost like he set those traps on purpose, getting the wolf to think he had the upper hand, and then, bam, boiling pot.
It does make you wonder about the wolf's side of things, right? Yeah, he's hungry, but was he evil? Or just doing what wolves do?
And he keeps getting tricked, outsmarted by pigs.
Yeah.
It's not a good look for the big bad wolf,
Especially not in this version. And don't forget, this isn't some random wolf. He's the one who ate their dad.
Right, so it's not just a wolf and some pigs. It's this whole cycle of violence, loss that's been going on. Who knows how long?
Yeah, it's not so clear-cut who's the victim here, who's the bad guy. Are the pigs just defending themselves, or are they, continuing this revenge thing?
The story doesn't give us easy answers, does it?
Yeah.
Where's the line between doing what you got to do to survive and taking things too far?
And it makes you think about that third pig, even if he was right to do what he did. What did that cost him? Inside, did he ever find peace? Or is he just messed up from all of it?
And what about the mom? Just left alone? Maybe the wolf got her too? Who knows?
It's like the story doesn't even care about her.
Right. Does that mean something? Nobody cares what happens to the vulnerable ones? Or is it just The story needed the pigs to be on their own to make it work.
I think it's more than that. Like, it's showing us there's always a cost to these things. Even if you win, you lose something.
So the third pig, yeah, he outsmarted the wolf, but he lost his whole family and maybe a part of himself doing what he had to do.
Which brings us back to that question, is this really about hard work paying off? Or is it more like a warning about revenge, about how good and bad get all mixed up?
Like, the story wants us to ask, were the pigs really the heroes? Or did they become, like, the monster they were fighting?
And that's the thing, right? It's not an easy question. It's up to each of us to decide what we think based on on what we believe.
And it makes you think, like, what would I do if I was in that situation, you know? Would I be the clever one, the survivor? Or would I end up wolf food?
Right, like it challenges us to see that maybe there aren't just good guys and bad guys. Like the pigs, they were smart, sure, but they did some pretty ruthless
The
things.
wolf, I mean, yeah, he was the predator, but he was also, like, driven by his own needs, maybe even like a sense of revenge after what happened with the dad pig.
Hmm. It does make you wonder if the real takeaway here isn't about building houses or even like being smarter than your enemy,
Hmm.
but about how violence just keeps going, and how like the stuff that happens to us, it changes how we act.
It's kind of a bummer, right? Like, even if you win, you still lose something.
Yeah, that's the heavy part. Like the third pig, he got away, but at what cost? Like, did he ever really heal from all that?
And then there's the mom, just gone. It's like the story saying, that's just how it is sometimes.
Yeah, it's not a very comforting thought, but maybe that's the point. Like even in fairy tales, things aren't always black and white, and sometimes doing what you have to do, it it leaves a mark on you.
So at the end of this deep dive, I'm still kind of wondering, is this a story about good triumphing? Or is it more like a warning about how revenge and fear, they can twist you up inside?
It's a good question, and I think the story wants us to think about it, not just give us an easy answer like were the pigs really the good guys or did they become,
Yeah.
something else
No.
because of what they went through?
It's like even in these kids' stories, there's all this stuff hidden underneath waiting for us to find it. And sometimes the stories that make us uncomfortable, those are the ones that really make us think about ourselves, you know?
Absolutely. And that's what makes this story so interesting to unpack, right? It challenges our assumptions about heroes and villains, and it forces us to confront the darker side of human nature.
Well, on that note, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into the Three Little Pigs. We've gone from houses to some pretty deep questions about good and evil, family, and what it means to survive. Hope you enjoyed it. And maybe next time you hear this story, you'll hear it a little differently. Thanks for listening.
It's been a pleasure, and always remember there's more to these stories than meets the eye.
Thank you for joining CMF Conspiracies podcast. If you have a conspiracy you wish for us to deep dive into, please send your topic to our email address or leave it in the comments.